Wednesday, Sundays, catch the ride. Football hoops, we breaking wide. Stats and facts, truth on high. SWAT talk where the convo's real. From Texas to Florida, we seal the deal. Just pull up, the vibes are real. Chopping it up, we spin the wheel. Hit the corner of the field, we strategize. Breaking the game down, no disguise. Play by play, we analyze. Eyewear sharp, we magnify. SWAT talk where the convo's real. From Texas to Florida, we seal the deal. Just pull up, the vibes are real. Chopping it up, we spin the wheel. Wednesdays heat, Sundays ignite. We talking legends shining bright. Back and forth, day or night. This the plug, we bring the light. SWAT talk where the convo's real. From Texas to Florida, we seal the deal. Cats pull up, the vibes are real. Chopping it up, we spin the wheel. Wednesdays heat, Sundays ignite. We talking legends shining bright. Back and forth, day or night. This the plug, we bring the light. SWAT talk where the convo's real. From Texas to Florida, we seal the deal. Cats pull up, the vibes are real. Chopping it up, we spin the wheel.
All right, everybody, what's going on, man? How y'all doing? Welcome to today's edition of Swag Talk, the show we cover the swag inside and out. I am your tour guide around the swag, C. Wells, coming at you. And today, we are going to wrap up the regular season. The 2025 swag football regular season has come to an end. All we have left is the championship game and the Celebration Bowl. The championship game is next Saturday, so we'll definitely have our preview of that coming on Wednesday. And we'll recap that game on Sunday. Monday, Southern University officially announced Marshall Faulk as head coach. Press conference slated for 2 o'clock, so I'll have my reaction to that in the afternoon. Also, just keep it locked here, man. I hit those socials. Facebook is Swag Talk, Instagram Swag Talk, Twitter Swag Talk 76. Also, don't forget to like the video, comment, and share your thoughts. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, man. We are over 1,500 subs, so we ready to make that march to 2,000. So if you could hit that subscribe button, that'd be great, man. Try to achieve another goal. Thank you to everybody for helping us get to 1,500 subs. And let's keep it going. So last week of regular season, definitely turned out to be one of the most swag weeks ever. Did not go the way a lot of people thought this week would go. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We'll start off with the Turkey Day Classic. Bama State got a battle for a quarter from Tuskegee before they finally overwhelmed them, winning this game 58-21, winning 10 games in the regular season, finishing 10-2 and 7-1 in conference. So big win for Bama State. As the Hornets close out this season, like I said, with a solid 10-2 record, missed out opportunity playing in the championship game, but still a strong finish. Tuskegee finishes their season at 4-7 and 3-5 in SIAC. So a 14, Tuskegee actually led this game 21-14 after the first quarter, thanks to a 67-yard pass from Michael Franklin to Devon Cooper that put the Tigers on the board 7-0 at the extra point. Bama State would answer with a Jamari Holtzclaw 3-yard run, extra point good, 7-7. And then Moba, the second, will get a 20-yard run for Tuskegee, 14-7. Bama State would answer with a 1-yard pass from Smoot to Harrell, extra point good. We were tied at 14. And then with time expiring in the first quarter, Moba, 9-yard run for Tuskegee. Tigers left 21-14 before Bama State would answer back. Dylan Creech, 11-yard pass from Smoot. Extra point good, 21 off. Marcus Harris, 6-yard run for Bama State with 4:40 left in the first half. Extra point good. Hornets go up 28-21. And then Sims, 42-yard pick six for the Hornets. Extra point good, 35-21. And then with 14 seconds left in the first half, Gilliam, 23-yard field goal, sent the Hornets into the locker room up 38-21. And then from there, Bama State would tack on three more touchdowns. Derek Harden would catch a 12-yard pass from Smoot early in the third quarter, 13:34 left. Then with 8:33 left in the third, Manny Thompson for a 13-yard pass from Smoot, extra point good, 52 to 21. And then Aiden Moody Copeland will get a 2-yard run for the Hornets with 2:06 left in the game. Conversion no good. Hornets would lead that 58-21, and that would be our final score. So after Tuskegee put up 21 points in the first quarter, Bama State defense did not allow anything else. The offense was able to get going, and they also got a defensive score now, so they did what they needed to do to get the win here. That takes us to our team stats. Tigers 20 first downs, Hornets 28, 150 on the ground for Tuskegee, 31 carries, 4.8 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. 135 on the ground for Bama State, 34 carries, 4 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. 208 through the air for Tuskegee, 12 of 31, 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown. 463 through the air for Bama State, 25 of 30, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. 358 total yards for the Golden Tigers, 62 plays, 5.8 yards per play. They fumbled 3 times but did not lose any. They had 4 penalties for 30 yards. 598 yards for the Hornets, 64 plays, 9.3 yards per play. They fumbled twice and lost both. And they had 8 penalties for 68 yards. 5 punts for 38-yard average for Tuskegee, 1 for 36 for Bama State. 29-15 time of possession for the Golden Tigers. 6 of 11 on third down. Didn't attempt a fourth down. They were 2 of 3 in the red zone. They had 1 sack. They were 3 of 3 on extra points. And they did not attempt a field goal. Bama State 30-45 time of possession, 4 of 8 on third down, 2 of 2 on fourth down, 8 of 8 in the red zone, 3 sacks. They were 7 of 8 on extra points and 1 for 1 on field goals. Tuskegee, they were led in passing by Michael Franklin, going 12 of 29 for 208 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 3 sacks. Smoot 20 of 24, 422 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 sack. Mulba led Tuskegee with 51 yards on 6 carries and 2 touchdowns. Harris led Bama State with 6 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown. Smoot at 4 for 33. Wilson led the Golden Tigers with 7 catches for 81 yards. Jones led Bama State with 6 for 189. Huge game there. Wells led Tuskegee with 7 tackles. He also led the team with 1.5 tackle for loss. The sack was by Cannon. And like I said, they had no interceptions. Bama State was led by Hall with 6 tackles. Gordon, 2 tackles for loss, to lead the defense. He also had 2 sacks to lead the defense. And interceptions. Sims had 2 interceptions on the night, including 1 for a touchdown. So after a rough first quarter, Bama State was able to lock in and take care of business and get the win here. Unfortunately, that's where the story ends. I know there's been a lot of people, debating playoffs and all that, but this is the system that we have, and if you do want to give yourself an opportunity to play in the playoffs, if your main goal falls short, then you cannot have a game this weekend. So logistically, it's up to Bama State. Do they decide in the future they want to move this game to Labor Day or something? And keep that opportunity open in case they have a situation like this again. That's a factor. But also, I don't want to get too deep into this, but they didn't necessarily have the best out of conference schedule either. Southern was their only FCS non-conference opponent, and that's a conference opponent as it is, and Southern had a horrible record. But does not take away from what this team did. Like I said, it scored over 30 points in all 12 games. I know that doesn't give you anything, that don't get you a SWAC championship, but that's a consistent offense, and that's with two different quarterbacks starting. This team never really missed a ton of a beat, um, other than maybe more consistency and things like that. But this team remained a solid offense. Defensively, they kind of had their rocky moments, but still a solid season for them. And 10 wins is nothing to sneeze at. And so, Hornets move on to the offseason, and we see what they do from there. Next up, Saturday was, I call Saturday Shocker Saturday, because both games Saturday did not end with the result that I thought it would be. And both games, the underdog pulled out the victory. We'll start off with, even I would honestly say this was the biggest shocker out of the two, just because Valley beat FAMU for the second year in a row. This time they beat them in Itta Bena. This game was scheduled to be in Atlanta, but it ended up in Itta Bena. So Valley gets their first SWAC win of the season, finishing 1-7, 2-10 overall. FAMU 5-7, 4-4 overall. Disappointing season for them. Definitely below the standard that they've set these recent years, and just a rough finish to this season, losing the last two games against teams that most years they would beat. Valley, they were competitive early, hit a lull. It seemed like they were getting to that same old Valley, but they found something Saturday. They found something. I don't know what it was, but they found something, and they got a 35-31 victory over FAMU. And this was a game that I didn't think Valley would win it, but I was always cautious of this game, especially with FAMU kind of season being over at this point. How they would come out. Would they come out with a killer instinct and try to go out on a high note, or would they come out and just kind of go through the motions and see what happens there? And it's tough to really say, but Valley came to play, and they took it to heart, and they did what they needed to do and got the win. So damn near scoreless first quarter. Jamal Haley got the Rattlers on the board with 9 seconds left in the first quarter with a 45-yard run, 7-0 there. Valley would answer with 8:03 left in the second quarter when DeFabian Fant will catch a 5-yard pass from Brandon Nunez. Extra point good, 7-7. Valley would extend their lead with 4:20 left in the second quarter when Christian White would catch a 38-yard pass from Nunez. Extra point good, 14-7. FAMU would answer it immediately. Ace Cobb, 30-yard pass from RJ Johnson. Extra point good, game tied at 14. And then as time expired in the first half, Daniel Porto, 35-yard field goal for FAMU, 17-14. So Rattlers sitting pretty at 17-14. They get a touchdown coming out the half with 9:36 left in the third. Thad Franklin, 5-yard run, extra point good. FAMU up 24-14. You're looking at it like they got this on lock. Valley would not be denied. Brandon Nunez, 4-yard run, extra point good. 6:22 left in the third, 24-21. Then 14:53 left in the game. Cameron Nelson, 27-yard pass from Makai Norris, extra point good. Valley takes a 28-24 lead. FAMU would answer immediately with a 3-play, 48-yard drive, and get a Kanari Wilcher, 34-yard pass from RJ Johnson with 13:24 left in the game. Made it score 35-31. Made it score 31-28. And then Valley would answer back immediately. Or they would answer back. Makai Norris, 9-yard pass for Nunez, extra point good, 35-31. And I like to look at drive charts and stuff in close games. So let's look at FAMU. Well, let's look at the entire fourth quarter. Entire fourth quarter drive chart. So let's see, where is it? So Valley would kick off the FAMU, and they would get the ball at let's see. All right, let's do it this way. All right, FAMU would get the ball at their own 25. They would drive down to their 47. Then they would punt to Valley. Valley get the ball at their 22, and they would ultimately end up punting again. FAMU gets the ball at their 8 with 2:50 left in the game, and they would drive to the 30 before Johnson was intercepted at the FAMU 49. Valley gets the ball at a minute 23 left, and they basically run the clock out there. So not no real good drives for FAMU after Valley scored that last touchdown. So Valley was able to hold them off. The defense stood up on 2 drives and got 2 stops. And even though Valley offensively didn't put nothing else up on the board, they were able to pull out the victory and keep FAMU off the board again for a winning score. So FAMU finished with 24 first downs, Valley 21, 172 yards on the ground for the Rattlers, 67 for Valley, 283 through the air for the Rattlers, 20 or 35, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. 358 through the air for Valley, 29 of 48, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 455 yards of offense for the Rattlers, 72 plays, 6.3 yards per play. They didn't fumble. They had 7 penalties for 72 yards. Valley, 425 total offense, 66 plays, 6.4 yards per play. They also didn't fumble. They had 2 penalties for 20 yards. As you can see, those 3 interceptions, that'll kill you. A late interception, snuffed out a drive, multiple early interceptions, cut short drives. FAMU punted 5 times for a 60-yard. Oh no, excuse me. Here you go. FAMU punted 6 times for a 35.8-yard average. Valley 7 points, 38-yard average. 31-49 time of possession for the Rattlers. 3 of 13 on third down, 2 of 2 on fourth down. That 3 of 13 also is a killer. 2 of 2 in the red zone, no sacks. 4 of 4 on extra points. They made the only field goal. Valley 28, 11 time of possession. They were 3 of 11 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. They had 4 sacks. They kept the pressure on FAMU. 5 of 5 on extra points, no field goals attempted. RJ Johnson, 20 of 34, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 4 sacks. Nunez, 28 of 47, 331 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, no sacks. Fab Franklin had 15 carries for 101 yards for FAMU and a touchdown. Fant, 5 carries, 31 yards for Valley. Goldie Lawrence led the Rattlers with 3 catches for 65 yards. Norris led Valley with 8 for 140 and a touchdown. Huge game there. Also, Nayron Jenkins led the team with 5 tackles. Perkins, 2 tackles for loss to lead the defense. No sacks. Interception was by Chase Lloyd. Valley was led by Jalen Wright with 8 tackles. He also led, James Bradley led the defense with 3 tackles for loss. And Padak had 2 sacks to lead the team. Interceptions, Stokes had 2, and Kelly had 1. So just a really solid game for Valley. The season was a wash, but this game showed that they could compete if they played hard and didn't make a lot of mistakes. They didn't shoot themselves in the foot, and they ultimately did not do that here. So you can't ask for much more from a team than winning your last game and finishing strong. So they do have a little momentum going into the postseason. We'll see what Coach Buckley does in his first full off season. Building this team, I think he's the guy for the job. It's just ultimately can he get guys and get numbers and make this team competitive consistently. So we'll be looking at what they do in the off season. And FAMU, it's question time. Is Coach Cozy Is he going to be gone? Because, they had a 75 season last year, which was not a good 75 season. Then you finish 5-7 here. Both seasons you lose the Valley. Um, a lot of people not happy with the way the team looked on either side of the ball. The defense is definitely taking steps back. The offense shows flashes, but can't be consistent. So it's ultimately, which way they're gonna go, and that's a huge step coming now. So we'll see how that progresses in the coming weeks for the Rattlers. Next up on Shocker Saturday is Southern beating Grambling 28-27 in the Bayou Classic. Southern wins their fourth straight Bayou Classic. Grambling came into this game, with a lot of momentum. Obviously, if you want to keep it 100, they did have, they did have some injuries at the quarterback spot that really tested their depth. I think Hayden Benoit is a quarterback that, as long as he stays at Grambling and they coach him up, I think you got the potential to have a guy there that could be a really good quarterback. He showed flashes. I mean, it's only like his fourth or fifth game. He showed flashes, but then he also had moments where he made some plays where you kind of scratch your head. But he had some really good throws, especially early. Later in the game, maybe the pressure of the game was a little bit too much at that point. But the defense stood up for Grambling early. They started to wear down, and that was one of the things I thought about this game, because early, even though Grambling jumped out to a 7-0 lead, both defense were very aggressive, and they were getting a lot of stops. But the offense would give it right back, and I felt like somebody's defense was going to wear down in the second half. Ultimately, I think timely penalties, really hurt Grambling in this game. They extended multiple Southern drives with personal foul penalties, and that kind of stuff can't happen. And especially in a game like this against a team that's basically getting up off the mat. Grambling never really delivered that knockout punch. They kept allowing Southern to, get a jab in there to keep themselves alive until they were able to hit the play that they needed and get the win. So Grambling started this game off. But like I said, Grambling finished the season at 7-5, which is their first winning season since 2019. 4-4 in conference. Southern finished at 2-10 and 1-7 in conference, avoiding the all-time worst record in conference by going 1-11. 2-10 is like the second worst by percentage points. So still not great, but ultimately you put a bow on this season, and that Southern announces Marshall Falk as head coach almost a couple hours after the game. So now it's on to the new era. And so press conference on Monday, we'll see what goes down with that. So back to the game. After a huge 70-yard pass for Grambling catch and run, Baron Miles Jr. will get a 9-yard pass from Hayden Benoit. Extra point good. Grambling led 7-0. That score came with 3:34 left in the first quarter. 10:52 left in the first half. Keith Jones catches a nice pass from Benoit for 28 yards and a touchdown. Extra point good. 14-0. Southern would get their first touchdown with 6:52 left in the first half when Trey Holly got a 1-yard run, extra point good. 14-7. 4:39 left in the first half. Josh McCormick, 39-yard field goal for Grambling, made the score 17-7, and that would be our halftime score. Southern would answer coming out of the half after getting a stop on Grambling. Barry Remo, 51-yard run for Southern, extra point good. 14-7, 17-14. Grambling would get a Andre Cruz 3-yard run to make the score 24-14. That score came with 8:12 left in the third. Fourth quarter, Southern gets a 9-yard Trey Holly run, 13:38 left in the game, 24-21. Josh McCormick, a 52-yard field goal for Grambling with 9:23 left in the game. That made the score 27-21. And then Khalil Harris, 34-yard pass from Cam McCoy with 7:16 left in the game. Southern takes a 28-27 lead after the extra point. Looking at how this thing kind of came to an end. Grambling would get the ball at their 35. They will ultimately drive down to the 37. Southern will get a stop. McCormick would attempt a 54-yard field goal. He misses. Southern gets a penalty for running into the kicker, and since it was 4th and 4, that gives Southern first down. They gives Grambling first down at the Southern 32. They would pick up 2 yards and end up kicking a field goal on 4th and 4 from the Southern 26. McCormick missed a 43-yard field goal for Grambling this time. Southern get the ball back with 2:18 and go 3 and out. Not a good drive. Only took a couple seconds off the clock. Grambling gets the ball with 1:58 left at their own 30 at their own 37. They would drive. They would drive down to the Southern 35. First down, handoff, bad exchange between Cruz and Benoit leads to a fumble. Southern recovers fumble by Kelby Givens, and then Southern runs out the clock there. So Grambling had opportunity to score the winning points, or at least the go-ahead points, 3 times. And twice they missed field goals on the same possession. And then the second time, well, I guess you say the third time, they didn't get they weren't able to get in position to score because they fumbled. So big, that was a big drop off at the end of the game for Grambling. I thought they played pretty well, especially in the passing game. The run game wasn't there pretty much at all. Southern defense had a really solid game against the run. Looking at the stats, 18 first downs for Southern, 16 for Grambling, 204 on the ground for Southern, 41 carries, 5 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, 85 yards for Grambling on the ground, 39 carries, 2.2 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown. Southern was 6 of 20. That is not a good percentage. But 6 of 20 for 148 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Grambling 215 yards through the air, 17 of 33, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Southern 352 yards of offense on 61 plays, 5.8 yards per play, no fumbles, 6 penalties for 35 yards, one of the better penalty games for Southern all season. Grambling 300 yards of offense, 72 plays, 4.2 yards per play. They fumbled once and lost it. They had 7 penalties for 90 yards. Like I said, they had multiple drive extending 15-yard penalties that really put them in bad positions all night. 8 punts for 32-yard average for Southern. Grambling 5 for 46. Southern 26 time of possession. Southern finished the game 0 of 10 on third downs and 0 of 1 on fourth down. So going 0 of 11 on conversions and you win is unheard of. That is unheard of. 2 of 2 in the red zone. They had 4 sacks, and they made all the extra points. They did miss a field goal right before the half. Grambling 33 time possession, 5 of 18 on third down, 1 of 2 on fourth down, 3 of 3 in the red zone. They had 2 sacks, and they were 3 of 3 on extra points and 2 of 4 on field goals. McCoy 6 of 18 for Southern for 148 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 1 sack. Benoit 16 of 32 for 221, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 4 sacks. Remo led Southern with 7 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown, winning the MVP in the process. Averaged 14 yards per carry, huge game for him. Cruz led Grambling with 18 carries to 47 yards and a touchdown. Jefferson 3 for 66 for Southern. Frazier had the 1 catch for 70 to lead Grambling. Givens led Southern with 6 tackles. Campbell 3 tackles for loss to lead the defense. Sacks, Wallace, Campbell, and LaFleur each had a sack. Givens had half a sack. Johnson had half a sack. Forced fumble by Walker, recovered by Givens. Interception went to West. Grambling was led by Bryce Cage with 7 tackles. He also had 4 tackles for loss to lead the defense. Raby and Monsanto each had sacks, and Raby had an interception to lead Grambling. So strange game. That's really the only way I could put it. Strange game. Grambling at one point they were 14-0. Looked like this was gonna be the kind of game where Southern just folds, but Southern kept finding ways to stay in the game. And I think as the game got tighter, Grambling kind of got a little tighter and didn't really make much happen. So bad end of the season for Alcorn. I think for Alcorn, for Grambling, finishing losing 2 straight to Alcorn and the Southern. Southern, this is not, this is a good end to a horrible season. Doesn't wipe away the other the other 11 games that you played and the other 10 games you lost, but you know, finishing out on a win and then, bringing in your new coach, announcing your new coach immediately is like a nice jolt in the arm. You always got that new coach smell. So getting that immediately after a big win is a good thing. So, you got some momentum. Now it's time to see what happens. Now the real work starts. So we'll see. We'll keep tabs on what Southern does this offseason, but you're at least getting a good start. I wouldn't worry too much about Grambling because I think they are moving in the right direction. You got a young quarterback who's got some starts on his belt. I don't know what the situation is with T-Set. If he's able to come back. If he is, then obviously, the job is probably his. But you got an opportunity for a couple quarterbacks. Darrensburg, he was a young kid. He played a little bit. So there is still talent at Grambling, and Coach Mickey Joseph is still working with those guys. And they improved their record from last year to this year, and they can do it again. So I wouldn't write Grambling off because of this loss, but it definitely stings if you're Grambling. There's no denying that. There's only obviously one game on Saturday. That's at 1 p.m. Central Time, and that's Prairie View taking on Jackson State in Jackson, SWAC championship game. We definitely have a preview on that on Wednesday. And just looking at the final standings after the end of the regular season, Jackson State 7-1, 9-2 in the East, winning the division. They're on a 4-game winning streak. Bama State 7-1, 10-2 overall. They finished on a 6-game winning streak. Bethune-Cookman 5-3, 6-6 overall. They finished with a win. FAMU drops to 4-4, 5-7 overall. They finished the season on a 2-game losing streak. Alabama and them 1-7, 4-8 overall. They finished the season on a 5-game losing streak. And Valley 1-7, 2-10 overall. They finished with a win. Prairie View wins the West with a 7-1 record, 9-3 overall. They finished the regular season on a 3-game winning streak. Texas Southern finishes second at 5-3, 6-5 overall. They on a 2-game winning streak to close out the season, and they finished third last year. They up to second this year. Next year, maybe division championship. We'll see if Coach Dishman can keep some of those guys around. Grambling 4-4, 7-5 overall. They lost 2. Alcorn 4-4, 5-7 overall. They've lost 1 to finish out the season. Alcorn, it's not a big deal, but Alcorn will finish in front of Grambling because they beat Grambling. So Alcorn will be third. Grambling will be fourth. Pine Bluff 2-6, 4-8 overall. They finished the season on a 3-game losing streak. And Southern 1-7, 2-10 overall. They finished the season with a win. So those are our standings. And that'll do it for us, man. I'm your tour guide around the SWAC, C. Wells, signing out, and I will catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.